Hi there, this is Lindsay from Big Sandy Skills U, and today I wanted to go over a quick tutorial with you about compare and contrast on the GED tests. So compare and contrast is a skill that we should have learned growing up in school. An easy way to talk about the difference between these two things is to say that one is telling how one is similar and one is telling how one is different. So let's go and take a few notes, and then we'll get into an exercise. So compare is how things are the same. So there's going to be different language, different trigger words associated with compare than there is to contrast. If you read a passage and you're not sure if they're talking about how people are similar or things are similar versus how they are different, then maybe you need to focus more on the language. So compare is how things are the same. Contrast is how things are different. It doesn't have to be any spectacular kind of definition. That's just the most basic way that I can convey this to you. So I do want to point out that we have some trigger words that indicate the kind of relationship that we have in any writing. So trigger words for, I'm going to put this bold and I'll underline it for compare. I'm also going to go up here and I'm going to make it so that my lines don't skip all the way down. So some language that talks about how things are similar is words like alike, both, same, similar, like, in common, also, similarly, in comparison to, and as well as. So let me give you an example of some of these. My mother and I both love to decorate. So the trigger word there would be the word both. That indicates to me that we're talking about something that is the same between the two of us. Another example would be my mother and I also love to cook. She's better than me. Her chicken and dumplings. So the trigger word there would be also. And of course, also could be used in different, as different trigger words. It could be an introductory word. So the placement of the word in the sentence and what it's accomplishing is important. So just because you see the word also does not mean that it is only a comparison relationship. I could say also, comma, I have never been to Colorado. In that instant, it's meaning in addition to previous information. It's not meaning the previous information and the information I just gave is being compared to each other. So the placement of the trigger word is important. So make sure that you analyze what that trigger word is saying. Oh dear. So let's go down here and let's say bold underline contrast. So some words that would indicate a contrasting relationship, a relationship talking about how things are different, would be words like different, differ, unlike, not alike, difference. On the other hand, I love this one. This is a great transition word. And there would need to be a comma after it. Like, I love to spend money, period. On the other hand, comma, my husband loves to save. He doesn't ever spend money. However is another one of those really great transition words. Let's scroll down some so you can see. Although, even though, in contrast to, while, and but. But is very common. However would be very common. Although would be very common. So let's give you some examples. While I love to eat fats, my brother likes to eat sugars. That's how we're different. Example, although my mother is the same height as me, she has a longer neck. It's true. My legs are longer than hers. My hips sit higher than hers. My torso is longer than hers, but she's got this skinny neck, and she looks like a totem pole, and I don't. So that's a comparison about the physicalities between my mother and I. I'll give another one. My spending habits are so unlike my husband's. I buy right away. He researches for. I buy right away. Semicolon. He researches for a month. It's true. He researches things to death. So the root or the trigger word there would be unlike. So trigger words to indicate a cause and effect, a contrast relationship don't have to come at the beginning. They can come in the middle. It could even come at the end. I could say, I want to learn to garden, and my husband doesn't want to learn to garden, and that's how we're different. So in that instance, different comes at the end, or the trigger word comes at the end. So just be careful, but these trigger words should help you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a document that I found online, and we're just going to read through, I think it's 2 paragraphs, and answer some of the questions. I will say that these questions have multiple answers. There's not just one. I was a little tore up when I thought, there's 2 of them that could be right. So it turns out that there is 2 that's right. Okay, I'm going to have to move myself down here. So this says, Teddy and Will? Sure, I know them. While I lived in the same apartment house with their mama and daddy for over 20 years. I remember Teddy, the oldest one. He was always so quiet and serious. Why, you'd never know a baby lived upstairs, hardly ever cried. Every cried? I think it's supposed to be ever. But that Will, he was the loud one. He'd shriek and holler when he was hungry. But he could laugh too. They were as different as day and night. As they got older, Teddy was always carrying books around. I guess he read most of the time, got high grades in school. I know because his mama used to tell me. That Will could never have sat long enough to read much, always dashing in and out, up and down the stairs with his friends. He was more sports-minded than his brother. He played on lots of teams at school, and on Sunday, you could hear the ball games on the radio way down in my apartment. They were both good boys, made their mama proud they did. Teddy, he went on to school to do something with computers. Will quit school for a while and worked. Later, he went back and got his diploma. He works as a car salesman now, makes good money. Both of them still send their mama money to help out now that their daddy is gone. Of course they visit, especially on holidays. Funny how two brothers can be so different. So as we look at the questions here, it just comes out and asks, how are these boys similar? They both had the same parents. Well, I mean, that's not really indicated in the text, but I'm going to just go ahead and imagine it didn't talk about a divorce. It didn't talk about anything like that, a stepdad or anything. So I'm going to say that's true. Both were serious and quiet. Well, that's not true because the oldest was serious and quiet and the youngest was loud, noisy, and like gregarious. He was friendly. Both were male. Yes, they were both boys and both loved to play sports. Well, that's not true because the oldest one didn't like to play sports. He was more of a bookworm. So I'm going to go A and C on this one. So how were the boys different? One liked to read and the other liked sports. Well, that's true. One liked his mother and the other didn't. I don't think that's true. There was no discussion about family troubles or his mother being disappointed in him for dropping out of school or nothing. Especially since in the second paragraph it says they made their mama proud. One left home and the other still lives with his mother. I don't think that's true either because it talks about how they come to visit. Because in the second line before the last, it says both of them still send their mama money. And of course, they visit. They is a plural pronoun. It's not a singular pronoun. So if it's they, then that means both of them visit on holidays, which indicates that they don't live there. One was quiet and the other one was noisy. Well, that is true as well. So I'm going to go with A and D on this one. Okay, so based on what you've read, you can tell that the neighbor probably likes both boys, likes Teddy better than Will, likes Will better than Teddy, dislikes both boys, wished she'd had more children. I'm going to go with A, that she likes both boys. She didn't badmouth either of them. She didn't condemn Will for dropping out of school. She didn't condemn him for playing his sports radio really loud. She didn't seem grumpy about anything that happened upstairs. So she gave favorable scores to both. You know, she didn't say Will was so loud and it always bothered me. So I'm going to go with A, and I think that's the only one. So as you can see, you need to have read the entire paragraph to understand the comparison. You're not going to find the answer word for word in the passage. So just like with the first question where it said they both had the same parents, that was something that I inferred, that I read between the lines. It didn't come out and say they both had the same parents, but the lack of talking about a divorce or step parents led me to believe that they had the same parents. So we always suggest that you read the passage and then answer the questions. If you have any further questions, please reach out to us. Your instructor would love nothing more than to be able to give you some more work on this or some more advice. You can always go on Google Classroom, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.